Hi guys, and we are Empire of Dachshunds. I'm James.
And I'm Rachel.
And Rachel, what if I told you not only is there a movie that stars one of two Oscar-winning Jokers, but also a former Jason Bourne hostage, a young Bruce Willis, Gabrielle Union, who I know has been in a lot of stuff, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head, and a man who was once sexually violated by a hamster. That's right! It's 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an interesting last one.
Yeah, Larry Miller, I don't know if you remember, was in the Nutty Professor movies. The second one, the hamster gets giant at one point, and he's under a fur coat. And I'm fairly sure the hamster's sexually violent because he makes a big, like, noise and all that jazz. But yeah, Larry Miller, I love you. You were the brother in a movie we will eventually get to, The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot.
Yes.
A modern classic. But anyway, we're talking about 10 Things I Hate About You, not The Man Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. So, get us started. What do you think?
Well, it's a classic retelling of a Shakespearean Taming of the Shrews, which is one of the few Shakespeares that James and I have not actually read.
No, it's funny because, I was in English in college. I've read a lot of Shakespeare. It's never been one. It's one of his, I don't know if it's one of his, like, more better received ones. I know it's one of his more famous ones. It joins The Merchant of Venice is something I've never actually read of his. Oh, our consummate co-star, Mr. Phineas T. Wiener.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but it's a high school movie from the 90s, and think about how many of them there kind of were. Like, especially the late 90s. It was like this, woo, let's celebrate. We all managed to get through how sad the beginning part of the 90s were, so let's go have a party. And we made so many of these in like a short span, but I feel like 10 Things I Hate About You kind of like stuck around. Like, people still love this movie quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially when you compare it to, like, we were talking about She's All That, or She's All That?
Yeah, She's All That's one of them.
And I forget, there's like another one that was really popular that all kind of came out at the same time that were like the same kind of movie. 10 Things I Hate About You is probably the best one out of all of them that did come out and is still, like, played on TV.
I don't know if I'd say it's the best one out of them. I'd probably pick Can't Hardly Wait, personally, of that glut that came out around the same time. Like, what's the one that had Melissa Joan Hart in it? Drive Me Crazy, I would think what was it called. Anyway, yeah, like, it's one of the few ones I saw when I was younger. I was actually kind of excited for this movie when it was coming out. Don't know why. Like, in retrospect, because, I was like 11, 12 when this came out. Not really like something that most young boys would be like, oh, can't wait to see it. Maybe I thought the girl was pretty. I don't know. Oh, I know. What's her name? Larissa Olnick?
I don't know.
Alex Mack. She was Alex Mack in the Nickelodeon television program, The Secret World of Alex Mack. I watched that. I haven't watched it since, so I don't really remember a lot, aside from she occasionally melted and her friend's name was Ray.
Okay.
But I did watch that.
All right.
So, I mean, what do you actually think of it? Like, there's this legacy to it. Like, obviously this is, I don't know, would you call it a cult classic? I don't know that I really would. I'd say it's just, classic for a generation, I think would make more sense of it as a term.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I will say, I haven't watched this movie in a while. It is one of mine. I don't remember why I bought it or when. I'm sure it was because, it was popular during that time. Watching it now, I'm kind of like, oh, it's not as good as I remember it. And it very well could just be that maybe I've lost that,
One of the funny things I kind of noticed while watching it, like, I don't know how familiar you are with the idea of Tumblr feminism.
No.
So, okay. Love you, Tumblr. Like, I was a big fan. I used to use you all the time. But Tumblr had this weird way of, like, feminism was just so loud. Like, you'd hear some crazy stuff. And, like, how, like, jump over the line this was for basically that, like, oh man, she's so mad that he didn't violate her, her not being sober and, taking that as consent.
When she was drunk and she wanted to kiss him, but he declined.
But at the same time, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character has this big speech of like, I was so nice to you, jeez. And it's like, might as well put on your fedora and grow your neck beard, Joseph, because you fucking earned it. It's like, and it's especially funny though that Julia Stiles' character Kat's the one that's like so mad about it because she's supposed to be the feminist character. Like, she sits there and reads a version of Sylvia Plath's Bell Jar that is somehow 300 pages longer than the actual Bell Jar because the book's only like 150 pages long. But her volume is huge. Like, there's no way unless they print it on like 2-inch thick paper that stuff is that long.
Maybe it's just extra large print.
Oh god, she has an old lady's version. But like why? And a weird thing that kind of bothered me about the movie, like anytime people like the plot wasn't moving forward, they'd crank the music real loud and just do it basically like people are looking at one another. Like, this movie is what, 2 hours long, something like that. And
99 minutes, I think I saw.
Yeah, and a good chunk of that is, why don't we stop, crank music real loud, and then people look at one another.
Well, apparently the dance scene where Julia Stiles' character, apparently that landed her the role in Save the Last Dance.
Well, of course, she got down. I mean, I get down every time I listen to Biggie personally, but that's just me. What could I say? I mean, what is there really to say about something that's based off Shakespeare, though? I mean,
really, if you want somebody to get into Shakespeare, like if you want to get a teenager into Shakespeare, sure, it's a great movie to kind of push them in the right direction. And I mean, this wasn't Julia Stiles' only Shakespeare adaptation. She was actually in, I believe, 2 of them. It was like Hamlet 2000 and O.
Yeah. And who else was in O? Joey. Joey was in O.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I kind of forgot O existed because it was a kind of a weird choice. Like, all right, what if instead of a court and there's soldiers, what if it was basketball?
Well, it isn't.
We don't have that one, do we? We don't have to worry about eventually getting to that.
No.
Because Othello's kind of a problematic play to begin with. Like, yeah, it's a great play. Weird to discuss in the 21st century where, like, that's a little weird. People were weird about, a mixed-race couple. But, I mean, so what do you think of, like, the performances? Was there anyone that stood out to you?
Well, I've always loved Julia Stiles. Like, I think she's definitely...
Really didn't do very much with her, like, early 2000s theme. Like when I mentioned her as being Jason Bourne's hostage, that was, like, her big thing after this. It was like, oh, okay, I did Save the Last Dance, and now I'm in the Bourne movies. That happened. What happened beyond that?
Yeah. And then, of course, you have young Heath Ledger.
I mean, everyone, I think... Man, he did die a while ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of wasted potential. I was thinking earlier today about his last movie, The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Because our next movie was directed by the same guy. Won't spoil that unless you can count. But that was an odd one. And it's like, I can't even tell if he was doing a good job because he's in like a third of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely an oddball movie.
I mean, and he got a posthumous Oscar, obviously. JGL, I'm surprised, hasn't managed to parlay his into some success. Feels like Joseph Gordon-Levitt had this, like, peak time, like, a couple years ago where it seemed like he was going to be really big and popular, but he never really capitalized on it. Like, suddenly he's like, I'm in Inception, I'm in Looper, I'm in Don John, I'm, like, doing this.
Well, you know what else he was in? He was in a Batman movie.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So, Heath Ledger and,
Like I said, 1 of 2 Oscar-nominated... or Oscar-winning Jokers, I should say. Anyone that's ever been nominated to win an Oscar as the Joker has won it.
Interesting. Jack Nicholson?
No. Joaquin Phoenix this past year.
No, I'm just saying though, but...
No, he was never nominated. So he did not win, obviously. It's true fact. If Jared Leto had been nominated for that, he'd have his... I want to say he has an Oscar.
Imagine he won one for Dallas Buyers, but I couldn't tell you that for sure.
Yeah, it's funny they mention him in this, though, because...
Oh, yeah, they do. Because apparently Kat had a picture of Jared Leto in her drawer.
Like, I'm wondering if this is My So-Called Life Jared Leto, or if this is... this would be late enough Fight Club had already come out, right?
1999 is when the movie came out. When did Fight Club came out?
I swear it was before this, but not by a ton. I really don't remember. You're talking, like, kid into high school years. Like, yeah, I saw Fight Club pretty early into its, like, on-tape life cycle. But obviously, I don't remember that kind of stuff off the cuff as easily as I might have back then, when Fight Club was one of 12 movies I'd seen that were made for adults, not for young kids.
My dad never censored me, so I've watched rated R movies since I was like 5.
I'm trying to think of what else to even say about it. Oh, so I was telling Rachel before this, like, the band in this is Letters from Cleo.
Oh, yes.
And she's like, I don't really know much about it. I said, neither do I, but I do know something about them. They've cropped up in, I don't want to say recent years, because it's not anymore, but thank you to the show Parks and Recreation for basically bringing it back to the limelight. One of the characters in the show, who I'm blanking on the name of now, is played by, now I'm blanking on the actor, but he's a big fan of him. Leslie's husband, whose name is I'm blanking on, is a big fan of them. And in fact, they play in one of the episodes. They are holding like a benefit concert in the show, and Letters from Cleo, who had been broken up for years, ready to play a bit part in the episode because he's such a big fan. Like, when he's in one episode, he's depressed. He's literally hanging out in a Letters from Cleo t-shirt that he hasn't washed, trying to make claymation. It's a whole thing. Like, which is funny because they're not very, like, they have some downbeat songs that I've heard, but they're not what I would describe as a downbeat band.
Honestly, I always thought that it was No Doubt, honestly.
She does have a very Gwen Stefani-ish vibe. Like I said, when we were talking about this before, this could have been their success instead of No Doubt's. It's just like, I don't know. I know, I'm fairly sure the record company's like, Gwen Stefani's pretty good looking. Let's go with that. I mean, basically they made a music video about that. That's what the music video for Don't Speak is all about. Is like, fuck the band. Let's go look at how pretty Gwen Stefani is. Like, whatever. Good for her and Blake Shelton. Definitely not a Team Miranda here.
Yeah,
I won't get into that in this video. That's for a later video. We'll get into that.
Okay.
When Bree's here to really break it down for you, because she's a Team Miranda.
What's Team Miranda?
Don't worry about it. So, alright. 10 things I hate about you. Would you recommend this to someone?
Maybe my niece, but I think, like, in adulthood, probably not.
Honestly, I'm gonna actually give this a bigger recommend than I really thought I was gonna. I thought I wouldn't like it as much as I did. I was like, well, this is gonna have age 4, and then it did. Let's not front about that. I mean, not only did we get to see the gentleman from Numbers play that all-important, pivotal role in any teen movie, the overly supportive friend that goes above and beyond for no apparent reason. But he actually got rewarded for it in this movie, unlike 90% of all other teen movies. Like, the best friend doesn't matter. Don't worry about what happens to him. But also, it's just a nice nostalgia trip, I think. I think it's a nice encapsulation of that late 90s feel. Like, it's not quite... We're not quite in nu metal days yet, where pants got wide, basses got down-tuned, and everything wasn't quite right. Still upbeat, fun, not great, but has great actors in it, and you can dovetail and see any number of them. Like Larry Miller and The Man Who Killed Hitler and the Bigfoot.
I will say it does have some great comebacks from Katarina, especially the remove head from sphincter, then drive. I mean, it's a classic. Like, kind of, I always like.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that the one quote on the back is just funny.
Funny. I don't know if I would say it was, like, funny. It was like I wasn't, like, laughing throughout the whole time. It's not like a...
Jeez, Joseph Gordon-Levitt only got third billing. He was like the main character, in my opinion. It's like...
I think it was like Julia Stiles and Heath Ledger.
But neither were all that famous. I think this was Julia Stiles' first movie, wasn't it?
I think it was...
And this is Heath
Ledger's
Ledger's
think it was
first
all three
one.
of their breakthroughs.
Well, I mean, Joseph Gordon-Levitt had been in Third Rock from the Sun at this point, so it had a big TV role.
They were in it together. Like, it
Oh, yeah,
just
yeah,
came
yeah,
out
she-
about the same time.
Forgot that fact.
Yeah, it was... what was her name? I forget her name.
She was his first girlfriend, and then Larissa was his second one.
Yeah.
Strudner or something. But anyhow, so yeah, mild reception. Woo. But all right, next time it's me. So till next time, guys. I have been James.
And I'm Rachel.
Please do like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to watch me play video games live, hit me at twitch.tv/streamsquad. Till then.
Have a good one.